One of the easiest ways a small business owner can lower tax liability is with a qualified plan. Hey there, my name is Kenner French with vastsolutionsgroup.com. I got two questions this week about utilization of a 401k to reduce taxes and prepare for retirement. So that's what this episode is going to be about today. Viewers, listeners out there, my name is Kenner French, been with vastsolutionsgroup.com since 2006. We traditionally were we were a finance company that 2006 we decided to become a little bit more help really entrepreneurs lower their taxes legally, morally, and ethically, most of which were real estate investors. And in some ways, sometimes we'll use qualified plans, that being 401k. So the two questions that were asked is why a 401k, and how is it that a 401k can lower my tax liability? So basically what we did was, in both instances, we sat down over Google Meet and explained to them the specifics. So really what you're going to hear about is what we talked about during those two meetings. So the first guy, he had a tax liability and he has not saved any for retirement. He has no employees. And what he wanted to do is figure out really one way that he could put away for him $20,000. And he had no 401k, had no retirement, he has no real retirement savings to speak of. And he had a salary of about $200,000. And specifically, he came to us, no other mandate, but see if one way to lower his tax liability potentially with a 401k. So we talked about it. So basically, what we did was, and he said, no, I don't think you can. I've been told, he was told by another CPA that he could not use a 401k if he didn't have any employees. I don't know where he came up with that. So in his situation, had no employees. We are going to put together a 401k for him. So what's going to happen is his company will sponsor a 401k. He took a salary of $200,000, which, by the way, was way too much. So that's a whole nother issue. And he's going to be able to, this is for 2000, this is going back to last year, as a matter of fact. So what's going to happen is he's going to be able to put together a 401k, defer money into it. He has no employees. He's going to roughly lower his tax liability about around $7,000, real roughly. What's going to happen is, he won't have to worry about paying his next quarterly of $7,000 roughly, because he's put in that money into the 401k for him, $20,000. So now the question is, does it make sense for him to do it pre-tax, meaning using a traditional 401k, or after tax, meaning a Roth IRA? That we can talk about another day. We have a lot of videos on that. So the answer for him in his specific situation is he's going to do it pre-tax, so meaning he's going to get a deduction on that with his traditional 401k. Now the cool thing about it for him is he has no employees, so he doesn't have to put any money away for any employees. He doesn't have to worry about passing any tests. A little bit easier compliance wise. Now, I'm going to mention something else that his CPA, his earlier CPA, said. Now, they were saying that, remember, he said because he had no employees, wouldn't be able to put away or put together a 401k or even put any money in a 401k. Now, another thing that was put together that other CPA said was, and this kind of shocked me, he said that you're only going to be able to put money away for 5 years. In a 401k, there's no mandate. There's no maximum. So I'm not sure where that came from, but maybe I've had one other person say that is not the case. You could put money away as long as you're taking the salary, as long as you're abiding by all the rules and regulations of the 401k plans as defined by the IRS. And I should note, by the way, the irs.gov website has a lot of good resources about 401ks, or what in this case in marketing jargon would be a solo 401k. Likewise, so do we at vastsolutionsgroup.com. Go to our website. We can there's a ton of tools that can help you there on our website. Now, what I'm also going to say, it's also worth noting. Now, he could also combine that with, let's say, a profit sharing plan, or even in some cases a defined benefit plan. But in his case, he wanted to start for this year with a 401k plan. So the reason it's valuable tax-wise, when he puts money into the plan, meaning he as an employer, really he's deferring as an employee money to the 401k, he is not getting taxed. Instead of giving, in this case, around $7,000 to Uncle Sam, let's say with your left hand, you're putting it in your right hand, you're putting it in your pocket. That's really the government's helping him to put money away. He has no employees, the fees to start that up are relatively low. So the nice thing is he's getting a deduction now. He doesn't have to pay for that, that $7,000 plus the full, in his case, full $20,000 goes to work, right? He's not going to be taxed next year. He's not going to be taxed the year after that. It's not going to be taxed the year after that. Let's say 20 years down the road, well, he wouldn't be 20. Let's say 10 years down the road in his circumstance, he takes the money out. That's when he'll be taxed. But meanwhile, he's had tax-free growth, if you will, which is nice. Meanwhile, at the beginning of the process, he's going to end up lowering his tax liability because he doesn't have to give money to the IRS. Let's say that was $7,000 as I provided as an example. That $7,000, theoretically, that's growing because he's putting it in a portfolio that hopefully is going to grow. So meaning if he gave it to the IRS, he wouldn't get an increase on that because it would be given to the IRS. Again, obviously he has to pay it down the road. Now, to the next guy, now he just had a tax question. So, and this will make it pretty simple, actually. So he wanted to know the difference really between a pre-tax or a traditional contribution and a Roth contribution, because he was looking at both a 401k, both 401ks, meaning pre-tax, post-tax. Let's talk about the taxation on the 401k in a traditional. Let's say, and this also would help the first guy in his scenario. Let's say you put away $10,000 and your tax liability is, let's say it's 25%, just to be simple, right? So if it's pre-tax, instead of putting away $10,000 and getting the whole $10,000 to be put away, which in effect, it's going to sound better than that. Instead of giving $2,500 in that case to the IRS, the full $10,000 goes to work for him. Okay. But he gets a deduction of $2,500, just like similarly, the guy in scenario number one got a $7,000 tax savings. Okay. So that's a traditional 401k contribution, or in both cases would be a deferral. Number one. Number two. Now let's just say he decided to go the Roth 401k avenue. Taxation's different. He would be paying taxes now versus later. So again, $10,000. Let's just say his tax liability was 25%. Just totally pretending. I know there's a lot of holes that could be found there. 25%. So $2,500 would be basically in effect written after when he does his taxes to the IRS, right? But still, the full $10,000 goes to work, by the way. But just if you really think about it, it's $2,500 minus 10,000, but let's forget about that. Right now, $10,000 goes to work. What happens is every year in a Roth 401k, in this guy's example, it goes up tax-free. Now, the difference between the traditional 401k and this is when you pull the money out in a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, specifically in this case, Roth 401k, is it taxed? The answer to that is no, if you've abided by the rules, the IRS rules. So what happens in scenario number one, traditional 401k or really traditional IRA, you get a tax savings on the way in, if you will, when you make your deferral or contribution, but on the way out, you pull it out, that's when you're taxed, generally. Now, on a Roth 401k, a Roth IRA, in this guy's example, let's say, right off the bat, automatically you're getting taxed in his example, or in my example for that one, $10,000, $2,500 is theoretically taken out. Right, you have to pay for taxes right then and there because your contribution is not tax deductible. But the cool thing is it grows tax free, and when you pull it out, generally speaking, it's tax free as long as you abide by the rules. So those are the two examples. Now, really, if you really think about it, it really depends on your tax situation, what to do in which circumstance. Talk to a professional and get a good idea of what the impact would be for you. You can run a study to see the difference between the two because, man, it does make a difference. It really depends on your tax situation. We're going to have another audio and video down the way so we could talk about some of the specifics. Also, you can go to our website. We have some blogs outlining that and lots of different videos about the subject of 401ks, taxation, etc. If you have any questions about taxes, remember, my name is Kenneth French. We've been doing this as a company since 1969. I've been here since 2006. We have CPAs, we have tax attorneys, we have a lot of people who can help you. New, by the way, I should mention, we've just basically done a strategic alliance, or really a merger, with the Asset Defense team and Bob Bloom, well-noted attorney. And actually, we've formed vastassetdefense.com, where we've brought together what we do, tax finance and artificial intelligence, to help small business owners to lower tax liability, also with business automation, AI, right? Which we've been doing for years in 2018, number one. And then number two, what he does, Bob's team does, he does he does asset protection and estate planning, bringing that together in obviously the new entity, vast-asset-defense.com. So what I'm going to do is, because you've stuck with us this long, I really appreciate you doing so. Here's my book. It's actually basically a manuscript of a bunch of articles that I've written kind of over the years. And here, it's the Entrepreneur's Manifesto, a collection of smart financial advice. It's chock full. It's whatever, how many pages? 158 pages, potential IRS red flags for entrepreneurs, key lessons about long-term investments, IRA withdrawal lessons. A lot of people calling with questions there. And this is a bonus. Why am I giving this away? Because I know that it's going to help business owners. There was this lady I was talking to a while back, and she said 2 ideas off this book save her a bunch of money. And who knows, maybe it could save you a bunch of money. She loves strategical and tactical lessons that I outlined in my book. Again, the Entrepreneur's Manifesto, a collection of smart financial advice. Email info@vastsolutionsgroup.com, info@vastsolutionsgroup.com. Get a free copy of this book. Will be sent to you, and you'll be glad you did get a copy of it. Once again, I'm Kenneth French with vastsolutionsgroup.com. Thank you for spending time with us.